Okay, so let's start. People are going to continue joining in most probably, but welcome this morning. I'm happy to see you. I'm happy that a lot of you showed up on this webinar. My name is Eric Bosha. I am the Director of Product Management here at Humanware, and it's a pleasure for me to introduce a series of webinars that I'll be giving throughout the year. And this is the first one of the series. And today we'll be talking about the Connect Magnifier and the Distance application and how to switch very rapidly for a student in a classroom to switch between the two and how to work with the Connect. So I'll show you everything you need to know on the Distance and the Magnifier. And if we have a bit of time, I'd like to extend this webinar on showing you a couple of ways of connecting to a smart board. Perfect. So I guess everybody can see my camera. I have two cameras set up, so I'll be switching between the two. Right now, you're seeing me as on the side, so you can see my Mac Connect in front of me, which is docked. The Mac Connect is an Android tablet that you can dock on the stand. I'm just going to show you a bit of a setup, what I do when I use a Mac Connect. When you dock the tablet on the stand, usually it's going to turn on. I had mine turned off right here, but how to just dock the tablet, you can just put it as so, and it's going to be docked. Now, I have a little pop-up here that I intentionally produced so that you can see what's happening here. This pop-up sometimes appears if you have reset the tablet sometimes, and it's going to say Prodigy Dock Event Receiver. If you have that, there's a little checkbox that you can check, and then you just say okay. It's never going to pop up again. But this is really rare, but I just wanted to show you because this is a question that I can see sometimes, so I like to answer that question when I'm doing webinars or when I'm presenting. So right now I have Prodigy. I'm in Prodigy, the application, the Humanware application. So what I do when I want to start using the Mac Connect, I just go into settings and I set two things. If right now we're in audio speech on, and you'll always have that that rectangle that's going to follow, and you'll also have the audio feedback. So it's gonna say where you are in the menus. So what I like doing is just going into settings, audio, and then in the speech menu, you can select either documents only or off. Usually I select off, and I'll tell you why in a bit. So I just select off, so now I don't have that audio feedback. If you like the audio feedback, you can leave it, but for me, I just set it to off. Also, what I do is I can go into the user interface and change the colors. So just to adapt to the contrast colors for the student would be best. So I can select white on black here and then move on. So these are the two little setups that I like doing before using the Mac Connect. And also on the base, just a little trick, I've put some tape on my base here just to know where to place my page when I'm going to do some OCR, so I can orient myself and I can feel that tape, and I know that my corner is going to be there, and I'll have a perfect full page OCR, which I'll show you a bit later. But this is what I do personally when I use the Mac Connect. The distance camera is a Wi-Fi camera. It's a Kodak Pix Pro camera, 10x optical. It's a Wi-Fi connected camera, so that means that you disconnect yourself to the Wi-Fi when you're using the camera. It's mounted on a gooseneck. The gooseneck can be mounted on the stand, on either side of the stand, so that it's appropriate on the side that you want. If ever you don't see in the main carousel the distance application, that means that the camera has been not paired, or there's no camera that was paired on the Mac Connect. But if you do have one and you don't have the distance camera, what you can do is that unscrew that camera from the gooseneck, and there's a little door right underneath the camera. You can open that, and you're gonna have to have good eyes, but you can see the name of the network of your camera, which is gonna be something like Pix Pro _SL10. and you're going to have some numbers. So that's a unique identifier for each camera. And there's going to be a password under here, and the password is the same for each camera. It's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. It's that simple. And what you do is that if you want to pair it, is that you go again in settings, you go into system, Wi-Fi setup, you can allow that, and then you can select Wi-Fi network, and you'll find the network of that camera, and then you'll be prompted for a password, and again that password is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. And once it's paired, usually the icon will show up, the distance icon will show up. So this is a bit of a setup. If you're a bit lost, you can refer to this video, and we do this setup with you, and you should be ready to go afterwards. Now, when using the Mag Connect for small children, or what you can do is that you can adjust either the screen to the height of the student. And what I've seen also, because of the screen, how it's positioned, sometimes it's hard putting a pencil. So just be able to put a little pencil underneath. I like sharpening mine smaller so that the student can go underneath and start reading and have enough space underneath. So my pencil is a bit shorter than we used to, so you can just place it underneath and be able to use it. So you don't have to use it straight up like that. So I have the student standing up or whatever. Bring it down, adjust it comfortably for the student so that he's comfortable or she's comfortable using it, and then adjust the little pencil that so that you can write underneath. Okay, I have a big hands here, but with small hands, I'm pretty sure they can put their small hands underneath and do whatever they'd like to. So let me switch to another camera here so that we can start using the Prodigy software, and you'll have another view here of my Mag Connect. So here you have the Mag Connect, and to use a magnifier. Right now in my setup, I have a mouse. You don't need a mouse to operate the Mag Connect. I have a computer here. You don't need the computer to operate the Mag Connect. It's just for my setup here to host this webinar. Usually you just have the Mag Connect here. So right now I'm right in front of the Magnifier application. So what to do is that you just tap on the Magnifier application and you're into the Magnifier application. So let's do some English today. Place a document right here. Again, at the bottom here, you have a button banner, which is specific commands that you can do in the magnifier. So you have the back function. So to go back into my main menu, you have a couple of settings if you'd like to go around with it and play around with those settings. You can adjust the brightness. You can adjust, again, the color contrast. You can adjust the mode. The mode is for either live or multi-capture. Multi-capture is to capture multiple pages. So if you have a small book that you want the student to be using, you can do multiple capture and scan multiple pages. You have an angle correction. The angle correction right now is enabled, and I'll show you right now what it does. So angle correction is really, you see that the image has been modified. There's some angles on the side, but what this does is that it keeps the text straight on the screen. So you don't have the Star Wars effect that you have if we disable that angle correction. So let's just disable here the angle correction, and you'll see what I mean. Now you have that Star Wars effect where it's going towards the back, and it's a bit harder, I find, to work with the Mag Connect in that way. So you can enable it, disable it as you wish by selecting the angle correction. Gestures, if you want your students not to use simple gestures, you can activate, enable, or disable some gestures here. So you can disable or enable the swipe, the left-hand swipe, the right-hand swipe, the pinch and zoom, or the double tap, which I'll show you what these gestures do. If you want to use them with your students, that's fine. But if you don't want the student to be using it because he's always touching the screen or she's always touching the screen and putting the Mag Connect in a weird setup, you can disable all these gestures. So let's go back to the magnifier. I'll turn off the, oops, sorry, did not want to do that. I'm going to turn off the multi-page for now. We'll come back to that. So after the settings button, what we have is a light button. So if you press on that, it turns off the light. You have a bad lighting underneath, so that if you want a better lighting, you turn on that light button. And then on this, right after the light button, you have a capture button to do some OCR. And then you have the plus and minus to zoom in or zoom out. Okay, so the best way to use these zoom in, zoom out is to keep your finger on it, and it's going to zoom in gradually inside the text that you have underneath here. And same goes for the zoom out. You can just hold that button. You can still use the pinch and zoom to zoom in, but those buttons work great if you just press and hold on those buttons, and it gradually zooms in. Okay. So you can adjust the magnification, and then again you can adjust the tablet for the student, and then you can start writing underneath. Now, I'm doing this in purpose here. I can use it live mode, and sometimes what it's going to do is that the autofocus is going to focus. It's going to try to focus on my hand because my hand is closer to the camera. So what you can do is double tap on the screen, and there's a bit of lighting here, but there's an icon that just showed up, which is AF, so autofocus off. So what this is going to do is that it's going to keep your focus on the page. So you can put your hand underneath, and without the trouble of the camera trying to refocus on my hand, and the student can work as he pleases underneath using the screen without having that autofocus going up and down all the time. So that's great for manual tasks, writing underneath, doing some painting or something like that. You can turn it off. So double tap to activate it again, or double tap to disable it. So that's one of the gestures that you can enable or disable in the settings that we just seen. Now the swipes, the gestures on the swipes. So on the left-hand side, if I swipe on the right-hand side, sorry, it will toggle to a negative view. So right now I was in black on white, it toggled to white on black. Same way as if I continue doing a swipe, it's going to come back to positive. If I continue again, another swipe, it's going to come back into colors. So that's your right hand edge swipe that you can do, and you don't have to go quick. Just go in a normal speed, and that's all you have. Here, maybe I can switch a camera so you can see what my fingers do on the screen here. Switch it right here. So just put one finger on the screen and just move down, and it's going to change. And you can loop like that from positive, negative, and into color mode. All right, so sorry. So if I do my left-hand swipe, it toggles to multi-capture, so you can capture multiple pages. If you do it again, it's going to come back to live mode, and that's to do some manual tasks or to take one capture at a time. And on the other side, like I said, it's going to toggle from positive to negative and back to colors. Okay, so that's to do manual tasks. Let's do some math here. We can put it underneath. Now again, you can see that Star Wars effect right now. I'm going to go and toggle to my angle correction, and it's going to put that text straight. So I'm going to deactivate my autofocus, and then I can put my hand underneath, and then I can just go and write my answers, and there we go. Okay. Now let's say I want to do some OCR. The teacher, you want everybody to read the Little Red Riding Hood. So I got a little sample here. Now to do an OCR, full page OCR, you'll have no choice but to bring the tablet up perpendicular to the base. Okay, so let me switch to my other camera here so that you can see how my tablet is. There we go. So I switched it to, really, you're going to feel a little vibration. And if people have the Mac Connect right now, you can follow me on trying to do all this and can try to do it together. If you have any questions, you can post it on the chat, and I will try to help you. And then this is where my tape comes in, very handy. I can fill my tape here underneath, and I know that my corner should be there. Just zoom out to have a full page, and I should have a full page. And once you're ready and you have that full page on the screen, you can just put one finger on it and just press and hold. It's going to take the capture. And then the capture, what it does is that it's going to do the OCR on it. We'll replace the text. We'll replace the text that was on my document to a computer font. So I can zoom in as far as I want without losing any image quality. I can save that image for later, where I can start reading it wherever I want just by pressing and holding a word, and it's going to start reading. But it's true, I deactivated my speech. So why I do that, when I do a speech off, it's going to scroll through and it's going to let the student read. So you can have your student without having that audio feedback all the time. And I see students being a bit lazy when they do that and they have the audio and just listen to the audio. Have your student read the text instead. So you can zoom in to a large font and it's going to scroll through it, have the student read. You can adjust the speed by just doing a swipe like that. So you can go quicker or slower and have your student read out to you, see if she or he understands what they're reading. That's part of learning, right? So we did an OCR. Let's go back. We did some manual tasks. We did some writing under the camera. We deactivated the autofocus to help us with the focus. Well, let's say that the teacher says, well, please look at the map that I have in the front. I have a map here of the US. What I want to do is that I want to see at distance the map. So I have a little question here. Can you go over that reading part again and the swipe for speed? Sure, I can do that. So let's go back to the magnifier, and thanks. Keep those questions coming because that's when it gets interesting, because I can answer all of your questions. So I'm just going to take again my OCR from the page because I did not save it last time. I'm going to take my capture. Get my OCR so I can zoom in and I can start reading. So press play, and to get that speed, you just swipe across the screen and it's going to go faster. Let me get it bigger, some more text underneath here so that you can see more what's happening. So again, my tape, just line it up with my tape, and I know I'm going to get a full page capture. There we go. Press and hold on the screen. Do the OCR. So I have a full page now, so you're going to see it. You're going to see the example better here. So I can start reading. It's going to switch to my column mode because I can set it to column mode. This is what I use. And then you can just swipe on the screen and it's going to go faster through it. So now your student can just read through that at his speed or her speed and just help her out understanding what they're reading. Because like I said, the audio, sometimes you can get the students being a bit lazy. How do you set the column mode? Good question. Go into your button banner, go into settings, and you'll have reading mode on here. Just click on that. And so you have 3 different reading mode. You can set it to page. Page mode will have all the graphics. You'll have the pictures on it, and you'll see where you are on a real page. Column mode is what we have. So it's only text. And you can also have line mode. Line mode is going to be just one big line of text that you can have on the screen. This is useful if you have you can zoom in and almost have one. So I can reduce that speed here. Again, with my gestures, can reduce that speed so you can have one word almost on the screen and have it read out by the student. Again, you're empowering your students here with this technology. You know, they'll have access to technology, and when they're going to get to the workforce, they'll know how to use it. They'll know how to use technology. They'll use the Android system for ES, and but they can adapt really quickly to another system, like a Windows system. But at least you're having that technology in the hands of the students. Can the scroll be turned off to allow student to manually scroll? Yes, you can just stop the reading. Just don't press the play button and put your finger on it on the screen, and you can scroll manually for sure. Have another question. Can you choose the voice you would like? Yes, you can. You have different voice that you can choose. So just, you know what, I'll save this image right now so we'll have something to come back to without me capturing the image all the time here. So I'm going to save that. There we go. So if you don't press the play button that I have right here, which is the fourth icon starting from the left of the button banner, and I zoom in, I can scroll through that text. Okay, it's going to be in page mode. If you want, you can start reading. It's going to put it into my line mode. Just pause it, and on the screen, you can go with your finger and do it manually. Just scroll through the text. If I have a column mode, you can do the same. So while it's paused, you can just scroll with your finger on the screen at the speed of the student. Okay. Yes, you can choose the voice. So now the other question about the voice is, usually in the United States, you'll have two voices pre-installed on the Mac Connect. You'll have Heather, and you'll have, I think, a Spanish one. But if you go into settings, I just did it a bit quickly here, but if I go back to my main menu of Prodigy, go into settings, user interface, you'll have system language here. Click on that. And usually you'll have, I already have one right now installed. You can have a maximum of 2 voices installed on your device. But if you want to add one, just go into configuration. You need a network connection, so you'll need to be connected to the internet. And here you have several languages that you can choose from. So let's say I want to have French because I'm French Canadian. So I'll install my French. So I just check on it, and then I just press on that little paper airplane on the top right corner. It's going to download the voice, and it's going to install it for you. If I want to cancel that, just go back, and that's it. So this is how you do it. So that's how you install your voice. But if you have a document and you want to change the voice, let's say you have a male or female voice on there, but the same language, which you can, and then you start reading that document and you want to change in the middle, you can go into your settings, and you'll have if your speech is on, or if your speech is on document only, you'll have the option of choosing your voice. So if you have 2, you just select, and it's going to toggle between the 2 that you have installed on the Mac Connect. Can I demonstrate the multi-page? Sure. Before moving on to the distance. So again, in the magnifier, you can go either into your settings menu like we did on here and go into mod and select multi-page. But the quickest way to do this is to use my gesture. The left-hand side swipe, just swipe, you're into multi-page, and what you can do, again, bring that tablet leveled up. My tape is very useful. If I switch my camera here, just for the fun of it, line up with my tape underneath here, so I know that I have a multi-page, and just press and hold on the screen. It's going to take the capture. Switch it back to my other camera here. And then that's one page. Let's do a second page. So just place your page there, press and hold on the screen. You have your second page. It says saving page 2. Let's do three pages. Press and hold on the screen. We saved 3 pages. Once you're ready and you have scanned all your pages, just click on that button on the top left corner of the screen, and that's going to bring you to your pages that you just scanned. So you have page 1, 2, and 3. If you want to read through them, you just can select one of the pages, press play, and it's going to read all through the 3 pages that you have here. Okay. So I have a little concern here. The biggest problem I have with OCR is that sometimes the words is gibbish, so meaning that there's errors. What can be done so that the words are captured exactly as they are typed on the handout? Well, the OCR is software. Sometimes if it's not in a particular perfect environment, the OCR will not detect the correct word. But in the English language, I would say the detection of the words will be about 99% of the time. It will detect the right word. But it do sometimes detect the wrong word, and you do have some errors. So what we've done on the Mag Connect is that we have a first pass where it's going to be a fast OCR, you'll have some errors, and then you'll have a more accurate OCR that's going to pass on the page and do a more accurate result. But still, you can still have some errors. Unfortunately, there's nothing really that can be done at this time, but in the future versions that we're working on is the ability of changing the results of the OCR. So in the future versions that we're, like I said, that we're working on, I don't have a date for that release, but I'll tell you what we're working on is that, let's say the word raise here is spelt wrong. So the idea would be to press and hold on that word and have the ability to change that word and write it correctly, and then store it into your results. But for now, unfortunately, you'll have that 1% chance of getting that error for now. But that's in the future versions. We're always upgrading the Prodigy software, always trying to get this Mag Connect working perfectly for you guys and getting the technology in the hands of the children, of the students. So again, multi-page. You swipe on the left-hand side, it goes from live mode to one capture, or swipe again, multi-page. Once you're into multi-page, just bring the tablet up, 90 degrees up, parallel, press and hold on anywhere on the screen, take a capture, change the page, take that capture again, press and hold on the screen. You'll be saving the pages like that. Okay. Great. So one of the objectives today was to go from magnifier and distance. So let's try our distance application. So one nice little shortcut for you guys is to use 2 fingers. Watch this, 2 fingers, tap on the screen twice, and you'll go back automatically to my main menu. So you're back to where all the big icons are. So this is very useful if you're in the settings somewhere, changing the voices or something like that. 2 fingers, double tap, you're back to the main menu. In my main menu, we have a distance application. So what you want to do before tapping on that, just press on that button. There's a button on the camera, on the top of the camera. So press on it. It's going to turn the camera on, okay? And then you're going to place it on the stand and then press on that distance icon. It's going to connect to the camera. So it's going to turn off the Wi-Fi for the internet, and it's going to detect automatically my camera here. So let's, like I said, the teacher wants me to zoom in to a map here. So you can zoom in using the button banner on the screen just by pressing and holding that plus button. And it's going to zoom in gradually until you can get that close-up that you want. And right now, I have that map at, it's about 20 feet from where I'm sitting right now. So you can zoom in really nicely. Now, I don't know if because of the lighting in the back, because I put it on a window here, that's why you're not getting the right text on there. But there we go. It made the focus on the darker part. You can see the cities and the states. But you can zoom in really nicely, and also if you see that the student is way in the back of the room, you can move that distance camera. Let me switch it back here. So switch it to my other camera, but you can take this camera and place it somewhere else. So let's place it somewhere else. I can unscrew it from the gooseneck, place it somewhere else. Try to see if that works here, and then place it, somewhere in the front of the classroom, so you can have a better view. There we go. So we have my map now. Still, I did not move my Mac Connect. I just moved my distance camera. So let's say I have something to write. I need to take notes. The student needs to take notes on what the teacher is saying on that map. So I can take my paper here, place it underneath my camera, and there is a little button on the left-hand side here. You can press, it's a little arrow. Press on that. I just lost my... Okay. That happens. You can turn off the camera and just turn it back on. It's going to come back. So it's fun seeing the master having a bit of problems, and it happens with technology sometimes. Things sometimes don't work as we'd liked, but there's always a way of coming back to the situation correctly. So we're going to zoom back into my map here, and again I'm going to hit that arrow button, and it's going to split the screen into two. So the bottom part is my magnifier. So I can zoom in to that part, and I can start writing. I can start taking some notes at the same time seeing my my map where the teacher is explaining something. So you have those both screens. If that screen is too thin, it's not large enough for the student, what you can do is that right now there's a red rectangle on my near view. So what you do is that you tap on it, and it's going to bring you to the magnifier directly. And instead of using the little arrow that we have there to have a split screen, what you can do is use one finger and swipe from right to left, from left to right. By doing that, you can switch very easily, very quickly from one to the other. There's a lot of reflection here on, there we go, bring that. So you can switch very quickly back and forth without having to turn off or turn on that camera and have the student write underneath, or have him or her read, let's say, the textbook that you're talking about, the state that we're seeing, and we can come back directly to the camera. If you want to position it, you can position it with your hand, move that camera up and down, left to right. You don't have to move the Mac Connect. Again, see, the Mac Connect never moved at all. Ever since I started, I can just move the camera, put it closer, move it left to right, up and down. And then again, swipe back to the magnifier. If I don't like that focus all the time, lock it in, double tap, and then you can just go back and forth. Now the focus is never redone. You have that clear image in the near mode, and you can just read at the same time as seeing the teacher. If I want to have that split mode again, click on that arrow on the left-hand side, and you have the split screen feature. When the rectangle is on that part on the bottom, that means you're controlling the near view. But if I want to control the top part, just tap on that top part of the screen, and then you can zoom in. But the zoom in, when you do a pinch and zoom for the distance camera, it's going to zoom in by one incremental, and that's all. So you just do one gesture, it's going to zoom in a bit. Again, zoom in a bit. If you want to go quicker, then change to the distance mode. Once that rectangle is on that distance application on top of the screen, tap on it. It's going to bring you to the distance application, and then press and hold on the button, on the plus button, and it's going to zoom in or zoom out gradually and a lot faster than the pinch and zoom. So that's why I like using these buttons. It's a bit quicker. Now I don't like that image with the map because I've put it on a window. But here I have an art that my son did. He's 10 years old, by the way. and he's made a kind of like a town. So it's called the Beauchamp town. It's in French here, so I can zoom in and then move that camera around to read and see what I have on the screen. And then if I want to go back to my near, swipe left to right, very nice gesture, very quickly, and you can move around with those two gestures. So I have a couple of questions here. So try the poster on the left. So that's what I just did, and there you go. So you got some nice color here. I have a lot of problem with the distance camera. The battery does not last long for my student. I sent the battery in for HumanWare. They said it works fine. How long does it supposed to last? Good question. Okay, so when you're using all the time the distance camera will last, that's about maximum 3.5 hours. It's not a big battery on there, but there's something coming in the next version. We'll see what we can do to optimize that battery life. But you can purchase some more batteries if you'd like through the school and have one on charge while using the other one, and once the battery's dead, you can swipe the battery. That can be done. I saw it in several schools where they have several batteries and one's charging while the other one is being used. And I want to show you something. Sometimes people say, well, my camera doesn't work anymore. And I'm just going to show you this because, like I said, a lot of questions I have is on the distance camera. This distance camera, when you open that little door, there's a little lever here, that little yellow lever. Sometimes that lever is not fully in, or the battery is not fully pushed in, and it stops working. So just push the battery in perfectly, and that should solve the problem. So these are little things that could happen to you, and sometimes teachers get nervous when things like this happen. Do not get nervous. There's a solution to everything. And now you have my email. For those who saw my invitation to this webinar, I know a lot of people I've contacted to attend this webinar. You have my email. Email me, no problem. I'll try to help you my best on getting stuff working, because I want this technology in the hands of the students. Okay, so the next question. Does a camera have the ability to take video? Unfortunately not. We had a lot of questioning internally on recording a video. The reason is for the rights, copyrights or personal life. You're not really allowed to do that unless you have authorization to do it. So we had a lot of internal debate here at HumanWare to offer that or not, and we've decided not to offer. But if you find that it's something that that you'd like and that would be beneficial to the students, please write me an email and tell me your reasons, and I'll weigh it in and to see if we can add it to a future version. Next question, are you able to highlight or circle on the screen to optimize the student viewing specific targets or element? Okay, so this, I'm guessing the question, you'd like to circle on a live image. So for example, if I'm in Magnifier, you have a piece of paper underneath and I'd like to circle something on the image. Well, you can do so, but you have to take a picture. You have to take a capture of that, of what's underneath. So for example, let's say I have this underneath. I want to circle a word. You can take a capture on here and then use the annotation tool, which I didn't go through in this because it's a feature by itself. I'll have a separate webinar on this feature, but you can save that image. And once you save that image, there's a little pencil that is shown, and then you can use that pencil and circle anything on the screen. So you can zoom out, circle that. You can circle, or you can change it to a highlighter and just highlight something on the text. You can start taking notes also on the text for older students. Okay, so that can be done. If you want to circle something on a distance capture, you can do that. So let's start my camera here, and I'll go into my distance application. Again, you'll need to capture that image. You won't be able to do it in live mode. I like that because it's a really interactive webinar here. I have a lot of questions and we'll go through them, try to help you as most as I can live for you. So let's say I have this here. I'm gonna zoom into my poster. There we go. So I can capture this, capture, and that capture is going to be stored directly into my gallery application. And again, that two-finger double tap is very useful to come back to my my main menu. Double tap back into my main menu, go into gallery, and you'll have here in my gallery, you'll have a distance folder. So go in that distance folder and you'll see my capture that I've just done here. Click on it, and then, oh yes, cannot edit it from this folder. So what you can do is move it to the gallery. So now it's moved to the gallery. So did you see what I just did? Let's go back, gallery. Again, this is another feature. You press and hold on the image, a distance image, you'll get an action menu. And in that action menu, you can rename, you can delete the picture, but you can move that image to the gallery. So if you do that, if you press on move to the gallery, it's going to move that image into my gallery, my main gallery. So my image now is in my gallery. I can use the edit annotation application and circle whatever I want. In that annotation application, you can change the colors if I want. Let's say I want red. I can choose red. And again, the highlighter, I can use also a keyboard on here, which is, again, another feature we'll cover in another webinar. Are you able to highlight or circle the screen to optimize the student? So that's what we did. Can I send in a charge? Can I send in a charge cord that will no longer charge a distance camera and get a new one? I don't quite understand the question, but what you can do also with the distance camera, if you want it to charge at the same time, you can use on the distance camera the USB port that's right underneath here. Plug in the USB cable that you got with the camera, or a longer one if you have one, and plug it into an outlet, and it should charge at the same time as you're using it. I personally wouldn't. Yeah, so I personally would never want the camera to record video in the school environment with all the emphasis on personal identifiable student information, express state. Well, see, so that's an opinion of that goes in the same direction that HumanWare took when we designed this application for the distance application. USB cable is not working. Can I send it? Yeah, yeah. If the USB cable is not working, you can send it, or you can send it over to HumanWare or APH, or have customer support help you with that, with all your information. You can do so. And this little USB, if you're talking about the USB on the camera, it's really an ordinary mini USB. There's a lot of cell phones that use the same USB connectors for that. Thank you for the questions. Keep them coming. I have a couple here. Yeah, so if you want to just buy the camera, there are a couple of $100. You can buy some more cameras separately. Now, a lot of questions that I'm having lately is, can I connect my distance camera to an iPad? We don't support that. The distance application that was designed for the Mat Connect or the Prodigy Connect 12, the firmware has changed. We changed it to accomplish specific things, so to be able to control the capture, to control the zoom in and zoom out, to control also the autofocus on the distance application. So if I go back to my distance application and turn on my, I'm going to show you what I mean, but all these were modified for our use. So the firmware on the camera has been changed. So I cannot guarantee that the distance camera will work on an iPad, but I know a lot of folks in schools have a lot of have an iPad and they want to use that distance camera. So I cannot guarantee that the distance camera will work on an iPad just because we've changed the firmware inside the camera so that it can be used with the Mac Connect. So you can just press anywhere on the screen, and I don't know if you can see here, but there's a green button that, or red button that shows up and turns green. What this does, that circle is indicating to you that it's focusing in that region. So when the circle is red, that means it's working to get the best focus. And when it's green, that means it's finished focusing. So you have that focus. And this is useful. Let's say you have something in front and in the back, and you want to concentrate your focus on the thing that's in the back, so you can really zoom in or really focus on that thing on the back. So for example, this here I have one my drawing here is in the front of the other one that's in the back here. I have a blue one. So if I want to just focus on the one on the back, I can select that, and the focus is going to be done on the one on the back. So you can see better the what you want to see on the screen. So that was modified in the firmware for the camera. So I was looking at the video from the student learning math. If the student needs to copy what the teacher is writing, but has to swipe between live and magnifier, he or she miss an important step accidentally. Well, you can swipe, or like I said, you can have the split screen. Sometimes the split screen is a bit small, but you can really zoom in if you want on the near view and on the distance, so like that, and zoom in. So you can have both at the same time with no problem, or you can use the swipe back and forth. Okay, so another question here: Can the screen split for the left and right side instead of bottom and top? No, it's pre-programmed for bottom and top, and the reason why is that you have more screen landscape than you have on portrait. That's the main reason. So you can cover more of your page, more of that width of the page being landscape like this. So you have more screen real estate when you're in landscape. That's why we chose to do it horizontally instead of vertically. So can you save enlarge image from either magnifier or distance camera? Yes, we just went through it. You can capture some distance images by pressing and holding your finger on the screen. That's no problem. How to get it stop reading? So I'm going to try to guess what you mean by that. Is that if I go back into my, well, let's take a capture of this here. So take a capture of this. It's going to do the OCR. So I can start or stop making it read by clicking the the play button or pause button, which is the fourth button from the left. It's going to start reading. I can pause it by using the button. Okay, so that's one way. Or I can press and hold on the word that I want to start reading. It's going to start reading, and I can pause it by pressing and holding on the screen again, and it's going to stop where I'm at. Okay, so that's one way of start reading or stop reading in a document. Now your speech has to be on or in documents only. So to activate that, go into settings, and in here in that menu you have speech. So in this speech menu you have three options: either on, That means that speech is always going to be on. It's always going to voice all the commands or all the features that are in the menu. It's always going to voice it, and you're going to have a red rectangle around it. Documents only will read out only the documents that have been OCR'd. And off, that means that there is no speech on at all. So there's no voice. So even if you start reading the document, there will be no voice. So like I said, what I like doing is making the student read. So I just put it to off and have the student read it out loud to me instead of having the audio read it to me. But I know that for some student, it would be preferable to have the audio, so you can connect the headphone on it and have it read out loud, only documents, so you can select documents only. Okay. Okay, so another question, is there a booklet or handout with the gestures? We do have on the APH website a checklist of what students should learn on using the Mat Connect, and it shows you all the functionalities and all the gestures and what each button does. I can send you that out after the webinar and maybe copy everyone on that, but it's a very nice checklist for your students. So I'll make a note of it, and I'll use the list of everybody that's registered and send that out to you guys. The link, it's a Word document, a Google Doc that you can access it, and then you can just check whatever the student has, where he's at or she's at in the using of the gestures. All right, so we're almost done here. It's been quite a morning. I love your questions. I'm gonna end just by showing you one thing, and it's the most important thing. I should have started off with it, but right now the most recent version of the Mat Connect for the software is, I'm going to show you how to see it. If you don't have that, try to update your tablet, and you can go into settings, into the about menu, and the version that we're on right now, the latest version is 4.2.1.7722. That's the most recent version. Now, if you don't have that version, go back here to settings, select system, and you have an option to software update. So by tapping on that, it's going to look on the servers to see if there's an update for you to download and install. Now you need to be connected to the internet, okay? So if you're not able to do the update, please send me an email, and I'll try to help you on a separate thread. But this is very important to keep your Mat Connect up to date. We're always releasing some new versions. I try to have at least 2 versions per year, so always coming out with new features, and the next one will be in March, and I'll be addressing a lot of the really low vision students. So students that have really low vision, what they have problems with is reading or getting to know which button to press on here. So in Prodigy, we don't have TalkBack, or TalkBack doesn't work fully in Prodigy, but we've created our own TalkBack, so into Prodigy, so that the very low vision student can start using the Mat Connect, and go through all the buttons. So that's one of the features that we're going to be coming out in March. So keep up with the new features, keep up with the updates. It's very important. And again, I can't stress it out more. Get that technology in the hands of the students the earliest as possible. The better they're going to get in using technology, and using different technology also. Okay. So thank you very, very much for your precious time. I know that you guys are very busy, and it's hard for you guys to get. We took an hour, full hour. But it's really, really appreciated. And again, these webinars, I think, are very important to get, again, that technology in the hands of the students. And please do not be shy. You have my email, please, or contact customer support at APH or Human, or even me, myself, if you have any questions, any concerns, and we'll try to help you through it. And thank you again very much for attending the webinar, and we'll see you on the next one. Thank you, guys.